Alright everybody, welcome to the channel. So I'm going to do a video today on clearing and healing sexual shadow. Now, I'm going to define my terms here. So when I'm talking about sexual shadow, I'm not talking about sexual trauma, although the two can be interrelated and linked in some way. So when I say sexual trauma, that would be like a traumatic event that has happened to you in your life tied into sexuality. So obviously like an extreme example of that might be if you were like raped or sexually abused as a child. That would be like an extreme sexual trauma. Sexual shadow is more like those aspects of your sexuality that you judge as wrong, that you don't want to face, that you push away. You might judge it as wrong, immoral, disgusting, and there might be those like thoughts that come through. It might even be like illegal, you know, whatever. It's this is sexual shadow. It's those aspects of our sexuality that we don't want to face, that we judge as bad and we push away. So during my kundalini awakening experience, I went through a period of about 2 years within that, let's say around about 2 years, when all these really powerful like sexual desires were coming up, some of which I definitely judged as wrong, and yeah, maybe even immoral, you know, like some, yeah, just yeah. And that could even be something like homosexuality. Now, I'm obviously not saying that there's anything wrong or immoral with that, but sometimes as heterosexual you know, men or women, we might have issues with those kind of thoughts coming up in us. It's like, oh, I'm not that's not me, or whatever. So the way through this and the way to heal and integrate all this is to allow it to move through you and come to the surface without judgment. So anytime these thoughts come up, it's just you allow it, and you watch it almost from a distance, but without judging it as wrong. Now you can even like move really, and actually it's better to really move into these, really fantasize with it, really go with it without judgment. Maybe you even want to masturbate with it, whatever, to allow it to express itself. And I'll say it again, like without judgment. That is the key part. And if anytime these come up, anytime these sexual aspects of you that you judge as wrong, if you move into that space of, I'm going to allow this, I'm going to let it move through me, I'm going to allow it to express it, I'm going to really embody it, really allow it. That doesn't necessarily mean you need to play it out in the 3D physical world, because some of these things might be extremely inappropriate to do in the 3D world. But the point is you allow it and allow it. And what you'll find is when you've done that, sometimes it might just be one time or a couple of times to allow this to come, then it will integrate it, it will allow it to be okay, and you will find that these sexual shadow aspects no longer come up for you. They are an integrated thing. They've been given that allowance to exist and that love. And yeah, you will get to a much more balanced place in your sexuality, where where your sexual drive, let's say, is not being pushed by shadow aspects that you're not willing or don't want to look at. And when you've done that, they're not going to be pushing you to move into let's say unconscious sexual actions. It really allows you to embody your sexuality and bring it into a more conscious state, essentially. There's a temple in India, I forget the name of it now. I'll maybe like stick a little picture up on the screen. Some of you are probably aware of this. And there is all sorts of like sexual activities portrayed on the outside. So, you know, just not normal, in inverted commas, normal sexual activity, group sex, there's even like bestiality and stuff, and they're all displayed on the outside of this temple. But on the inside of the temple, there's none of that. I don't think there's even any artwork or anything. And the idea is that what it's saying is you move through those sexual desires, those sexual drives, and you get to that place of clarity, of purity, in inverted commas, But when you're there, that doesn't mean to say that you can't explore these other sexual dynamics, but you're doing it from a place of, you're doing it in the spirit of play. It's like divine play, like Leela, you know, it's like, so you're grounded and centered and in your heart, and then you can play. You can potentially, if you choose to, play some of these out, like with a partner or even on your own. And that's very different from playing those kind of things out in a, let's say, lustful or unconscious way. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that. That's been very helpful for me, and it's something that's come up in conversations with a lot of people actually, and I've shared this sort of understanding in a standing with them, and it's been really helpful. So I thought I'd share it for everyone out there who subscribes and watches these videos. And it's especially, I think it's especially important if you're on the Kundalini awakening path, because you're going to have to face this stuff. It's, you know, everything comes up to be faced, and sexuality is one of those things. It's massively repressed in this culture. You know, just think about the nature of the language. Most of our curse words, and that's important, the curse words are words for our genitals or sexuality, and so that we're constantly shaming those sexual aspects, constantly. Maybe I'll do another video on that, because that's a separate issue, but I do find that very interesting. So yeah, all right, I hope this was helpful, and sending much love to everyone. All right, peace, bye.